Hey everyone, welcome to another Eldritch Moon Limited review video. So far I've talked about the best commons and uncommons in white, blue, and black in Eldritch Moon Limited, and today we're going to do red, tomorrow we're going to do green, and then we'll get into more detail about the format, including my usual archetype video, as well as a few other things. But for now, let's go ahead and get started talking about red in Eldritch Moon. As usual, we're going to start with the uncommons. I think the best uncommon in red is Incendiary Flow. There's no reason to doubt a card that can efficiently deal with so many creatures in the format. 3 damage is enough to kill a lot of things, and it can also dome your opponent, which not all burn does these days, but this does. It isn't quite Lightning Strike since it's sorcery speed, but I think it's almost as good. It does have the added bonus of not letting your opponent's creatures' death triggers happen, while also taking away annoying creatures that can come back from the graveyard, which there are a decent number of in this set, like Stitchwing Scob and things like that. Incendiary Flow will often be a first pickable card in the packs you open it in, and I'm not sure you can say that about any other red uncommons in the format, but there is one other red uncommon that I rate pretty highly, even if it's not quite as highly as Incendiary Flow, and I'd like to talk about that uncommon, and that is Smoldering Werewolf, which transforms into Erupting Dreadwolf. I actually like both uncommon red werewolves that turn into Eldrazi werewolves, what a crazy creature type that is, and the other one's called Conduit of the Storm, but I like Smoldering Werewolf more. You can use his ability to pick off X1s or finish off guys after combat that your opponent used to block or whatever, or otherwise took damage in any way, and it comes with a decent 3/2 body. What's more, in the latter part of the game, he starts casting Shock every time he swings, continuing to clear path for himself and his large 6/4 body. I don't think this card is first pickable most of the time, but I'm always a sucker for a card that can potentially get me 3-for-1s, and Smoldering Werewolf can do that. Well, that's an ideal scenario, of course. I think the Werewolf getting you a 2-for-1 is probably going to be close to the norm, and I think that makes it a pretty good card. I mean, there's definitely going to be packs where I think it is first pickable, but that probably means you have a subpar pack. But still, it's a highly power level red uncommon that I wanted to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump to the commons. At the third best common, I have Thermo Alchemist. And I'll begin by saying that I like Red's commons a lot this time around. They're surprisingly both deep and powerful. And I think all 3 of the cards on this list are cards I'd be happy to have in any red deck I play. But that is the least true of Thermo Alchemist. The Alchemist is a decent 2 mana for a 0/3, meaning it can at least block for a couple of turns after it comes down. Most creatures on turn 2 don't have enough power to get through it, right? On top of that, it can ping the opponent every turn. And this is already a card I would play in any red deck that wasn't trying to be super aggressive. And even those, it doesn't hurt to play one of these because it does do damage. It can end board stalls and things like that. On top of that, the Alchemist is going to be stupid good in the blue-red Spells Matter deck. There might be fewer copies of Pyrehound to go around, but when you have Thermo Alchemist at common, that's probably okay. You know, having a couple of both would be amazing. Really, in any deck with red in it, and let's say 6 to 7 instant sorcery spells, you should be playing this guy. He's going to get in for a lot of damage and block effectively. And in the blue-red Spells Matter deck, this is one of the best cards you're going to want for your deck. It's a big payoff card. It's also a clear sign that the deck is open the same way Pyrehound was in Shadows over Innistrad. So let's move to the second best red common. I think that is Alchemist's Greeting. It's another alchemy card. We have sort of an alchemy theme going on here. But anyway, this card kind of reminds me of a card from the recent past, which was Boulder's Salvo from Battle for Zendikar or Oath of the Gatewatch. One of those, I don't remember which. But both cost 5 to do 4 damage to 4 damage to something, a creature, but offer you the cost of 2 for the same effect if you jump through a few hoops. Now, Boulder Salvo's hoop was generally easier to jump through as it just asks you to play spells, something you do all the time, but Alchemist's Greeting has the upside of being able to be used at instant speed if you cast it for its madness cost, which isn't irrelevant. At any rate, I think Alchemist's Greeting is a pretty good removal spell for red, one that gets better the more madness outlets you have, plus the fail case of the card, while not great, can still kill a lot of creatures. That's what we saw with Boulder Salvo too, and it is a terrible cost. Paying 5 to kill a 3 or 4 drop doesn't feel good, but sometimes you just have to do it. And so I still think it's a pretty good card. I don't think it's quite as good as Boulder Salvo was, but it's a pretty good card. There's lots of ways to get madness rolling in red, especially if you pair it with black or blue. So let's go ahead and move to the number 1 common in red. If you've looked at the set, you can probably guess what it is, and it is Galvanic Bombardment. This is the premium red removal spell at common in the format. It's a first pickable card, even though it's only common. And it's just a really good removal spell. 1 mana for 2 damage is just such an efficient rate. It kills a large percentage of creatures, and that makes this card very good. It does it at instant speed, and so on and so forth. It's not quite shock, it can't hit the opponent, but it does have the upside of getting better and better the more galvanic bombardments you have in your deck. So, if you're paying 1 to do 3 or 4 with this, things are getting kind of silly. It is going to be a hard card to pick up because this is going to be this, we've had Oblivion Strike in the recent past. Everyone is just first picking it, and I think Galvanic Bombardment will be one of those cards too, where it'll be kind of hard to get a lot of copies of it, but when you do, man, you're in really good shape. So that does it for my picks for the best red commons and uncommons for Eldritch Moon Limited. Tomorrow we'll look at green. What do you think are the best commons and uncommons in red for Eldritch Moon? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to make sure you catch the rest of this Eldritch Moon Limited review and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.